Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. Celtic Warband here, and thanks for tuning in to an epic battle in Napoleonic Total War 3. Today's battle isn't modeled after a specific event in history, but it is modeled over a specific time period. We find ourselves in North Africa, particularly in Egypt, where the French have failed to gain a foothold against the United Kingdom. Now, the French did have some early successes, but thankfully the United Kingdom was staunch allies with the Ottoman Empire, and the Ottoman Empire brought a lot of manpower to the British side, and in today's battle we see the last defense of the French forces before they are driven from Egypt. So I hope you guys do enjoy, and without further ado, let's get to the battle. Alright guys, welcome to the battlefield, and because this is my first upload in Napoleonic Total War 3, I haven't exactly decided whether I want to have army compositions in Napoleonic Total War 3 battles. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is because every single unit in Napoleonic Total War 3 has a different name. And not only that, but every name is in the native tongue of the faction that you choose. So, for instance, I am fighting as the Ottomans, and I have probably a 0% chance of pronouncing any of these names correctly. So I'm not exactly sure if I want to go through, 30 different units with 30 different names and butcher every single name. I mean, other factions like the British and the French are a little bit easier, but as I said, I'm just not exactly sure if they have a place in Napoleonic Total War 3 replays. So for this one, it's mostly going to focus on the cinematics and the strategy, but if you guys would like to see maybe abbreviated army comps, I can possibly do them at the beginning of the video, but yeah, as I said, the British names would be easier to do, but I mean, even for these Janissary, which I think does mean Janissary, like, I still can't pronounce that correctly. Like, some of these names over here, I know that maybe these are Bulgarian, like levies from Bulgaria, because they have the word Bulgar in it, but like this one, Filistini Yellow Belakir, like, I would have no idea. So we'll kind of just overview the armies as a whole. But it looks like the battle is already beginning. I've got some of my gunner cavalry over here. I have 2 units of gunner cav that are harassing the French lines. But I have no hope in winning this here. The 2 units of gunner cav are heavily outnumbered by the French on this flank. And you can see that they have already decided to break. So not really an ideal start for the Ottomans. The French are heavily entrenched on this hilltop. You can see they've got the general here. Thomas, what was his name? Thomas Davy de la Pelletieri, and he also has this massive gun on the hilltop here. So very, very excellent positioning, and he is firing down upon the ranks of my units as they come into range. We do also have a couple of units over here from the French too. We've got the Legion Grec, which I would assume are kind of light infantry, but they're levied from the Ottomans because they have very similar looking uniforms to the Ottoman infantry. But he's got 2 units of light infantry over here. I'm not sure what he was planning to do with this. By the way, I am playing as the Ottoman Empire. And then right behind that we have the Army of Great Britain commanded by Noob Nath. And then the defending French are commanded by Tattoos and Welding. I just forgot to mention that there. But yeah, you can see that the Legion Grec, as I think you pronounce it, they're just going to get run down by my cavalry. I do have a couple units of Lancer cavalry which are going to be able to run them down, and that kind of gives a little bit of respite to the rest of my line infantry that are moving into position. If we kind of scroll out a bit here and I hold space, you can see that I was originally going to form these guys up to attack these 2 units of French light infantry, but I will turn them in very shortly. However, we are being hampered quite heavily by that gun that's on the hill. I believe that's an 18-pounder, if I'm not mistaken, but it's a very beefy gun, and it has unlimited range as well, so we were actually being fired upon the entire way we moved up the Sandy Valley. You could see it's scattered with dead troops from the United Kingdom, and also a couple of my own were hit as well. Although, it's good that Tattoos and Welding was focusing the troops of Great Britain because they're of a much higher quality than my Ottoman troops. I do have 2 elite units over here of Janissaries though, so I do have 2 very solid units. So I've got them over here on this flank. But basically the way I've set up my flank here is most of my irregular infantry, so they're kind of in between the militia and the line infantry, I've got them all on the left-hand flank. You can see them moving forwards here. And then most of my line infantry is going to face the full brunt of the French volley in the center. And then I'm pushing more of my militia units on the flanks, I believe. Again, I'm very, very new to this mod, so I'll have to learn exactly what these units are. But yeah, I just remembered that most of my elite line infantry was in the center, along with my light infantry. You can see I've got 2 units of them. And then I put my militia units and irregulars on the flanks. And you can kind of tell a militia unit because they've got such a large man count for most of them. You can see 143 here in these guys. Basa Bozuk. Yeah, so I'm sure anyone who does hail from, you know, Turkey would be able to tell me the correct pronunciation for these, but I know nothing about the dialect, so it's kind of hard to look at a name and then know what every syllable is, like how it's supposed to be sounded, so it's a little bit difficult there. But it looks like we got a little bit of time to overview the Great Britain army. It's pretty easy. It's mostly heavy line infantry here, very high-tier line infantry. So we've got like the Fighting 40th here, the Yellow Banded Robbers, the Midden Boys, the Cameronians, we got some more Midden Boys, the 20th Foot East Devonshire. We got the Kirkslams, the Jocks, the Coldstream Lilywhites, the Slashers, the Springers, the Skins, and the Silver-tailed Dandies. Then, of course, we have I think these are his 2 most elite units, the Brotherers and the Pontius Pilot's Bodyguards. And, of course, we've got the General over here, along with my General, Mustafa Pasha, and Ralph Abercrombie. Very cool as well. Both of these generals were present in this theater at this time in the Napoleonic Wars, so they would have been directly responsible for driving the French from Egypt. But I believe that his general, Tattoo's general, yes, he is behind here, and I believe that Thomas Davy de la Pelletieri, I think he was present as well as one of the French generals in Northern Africa. But here we go, looks like the firefight is beginning, and look at these beautiful guys here with their pink uniforms. I actually didn't see these guys during battle, but he's going to have to move his units just a little bit closer to get them into range. So you can see he's got a nice line here. And again, the French definitely outclass my Ottoman infantry here. They're really going to struggle, especially on this flank too. We definitely have the numbers as far as the guns go, but not very good on the accuracy side of things. There's an excellent volley from the Ottomans, returning fire there. And of course, the British would be telling the Ottomans to kind of go first, and then the British would come in to clean up the mess at the very end once the battle is almost over. Typical. Very typical. But yes, the Ottomans are tasked with a lot of the heavy lifting in assaulting this very fortified French position first. And let me know if you guys like this, you know, more of a cinematic approach. I don't really like it. I feel like Napoleonic Total War 3 and Napoleon in general is a very cinematic game. So I kind of wanted to get rid of like the faction flags and, you know, the orders and target windows and whatnot. I can obviously show you guys the radar map from time to time, but it's pretty self-explanatory with this one. So yeah, I kind of just like to focus all on the cinematics, giving you guys some really good shots. You can hear that cannon fire whistling overhead. The Ottomans, my army does not have any cannons, but the British did bring a cannon. However, you can see that my line already has some holes in it. The line infantry are not holding very well. I made sure to have pretty good angles on the French. However, maybe not so much in the center here. This really isn't... See, this is bad. I should have really checked into this. Maybe move this unit up a little bit further, because a lot of their shots are going into the dirt. But over here, they should be doing rather well. Nice volleys there. So let's take a look at the French side of things, see how they're doing. Yeah, a lot of my units are running, but the French are holding very firm here. You can see getting some good volleys off. And very good man count in a lot of these columns too. You can see almost 200 for these 2 units here. So lots of units to kind of supplement the front line should they get a little bit thinner. And these guys actually look really cool too. Yeah, very nice indeed. But I'm hearing some charging. Yes, over here, I think. Yeah, I charged in some of my Lancer cavalry. He was not prepared for that. I believe that the cavalry did end up breaking, which is unfortunate, but I did get a decent charge into that unit. They were actually routed from the battlefield as well. However, this one, getting into a square formation, was able to hold. You can see a lot of my cavalry have fallen here. But let's just get a quick overview of what's going on here. I do have my 2 elite units over on this left-hand flank now, so now I'm really starting to put the pressure on the French. Again, also, guys, let me know how the sound is, too, how the sound difference is for, like, the gunshots and the cannon fire versus my commentary. As I said, I never really focused on Napoleonic replays in the past, but I've kind of fell in love with this mod. I guess I never really gave it a chance, and I found that Napoleon... Oh, hold that thought. Here we go. I've got a very daring charge with some of my Saber cavalry here. So I'm going to try and charge them into melee. Good volleys from the French there, though. But yes, getting into the ranks of the French, and they were not able to form square formation in time. So that is really good for me. That means I'm going to be able to move my Janissary up. However, I might be getting a bit of friendly fire there, though. They did rout as well, which is excellent. And Tattoos and Welding, again, he's got a micro, a two-on-one here. So he's quickly moving his other flank into square formation. Although this unit has been routed, so a little bit softer on his right flank than his left flank now. His left flank is holding very well. But yeah, back to what I was saying, I really just didn't give this mod a chance, I think, just because I was never really interested in the Napoleonic era in general, and I found that Napoleon Total War was kind of a little bit lackluster in my opinion, but this is totally made up for it. It's a very realistic game, and if you remove a lot of the actual features like the floating flags and whatnot, it's very cinematic. Like, you get some excellent shots here. You can see my irregulars over here on this flank. Okay, we've got some more running, but I'm hearing some more charging over here. Yes, so this is when the Ottoman general Mustafa Pasha has called an all-out charge from the Janissary line infantry, and the French are holding it off very well. However, you can see, yeah, some of them are routing, but some of my units are routing as well. Here we go. Huge charges down the line. The French trying to get as many volleys as possible, cutting down the Ottomans as they move forwards. And look at that, unfortunately, some of my units breaking before they even make it to the line, so that is pretty disastrous. However, Great Britain has finally showed up to the party, and they are going to be getting into range to fire down onto the French as they focus on my lightly armored infantry. Over here, we are doing pretty well, but there we go. The last of my units are starting to break. I'm charging over here with some of my units here, too, and it looks like, yes, his pink boys over here, the Putu, or Patu, have broken, and I'm pushing my elite Janissaries over here on the flanks as well to try and encircle this hilltop. So very, very cool. Looks like Tattoos and Welding has repositioned to a bit of a tighter formation on the hill. So I think he realizes that his left flank is falling, or his right flank, I should say, but his left flank is still holding very well. However, I do have some of my militia units moving over to challenge the, well, his left flank, my right flank. So I think he sees that and he is going to pull some units back. Now, I don't know why these guys seem to be moving in slow motion. I guess it's because they're exhausted, I would assume. So I've been running these guys a little bit too much. But the English, where is that artillery piece? I saw it firing somewhere. Where is it? Yeah, up here. Yeah, so Great Britain, as I said, they do have an artillery piece. However, it was so exhausted trying to get across the battlefield here that Noob Nath just decided to set it up. And he's getting some good volleys here, although, yeah, you can see some of them are hitting, but they're not hitting their mark, unfortunately. They're just hitting in front of the French defense. And yes, you can see the United Kingdom has formed up its more elite infantry here in this L formation. So again, really pressuring this side of the French. And I'm pushing with all of my units up this hilltop here. Unfortunately, they are exhausted, but I'm trying to neutralize that cannon to the best of my abilities. And I've got more units that are in behind the hill. I think my 2 units of Janissaries are here as well, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that they are somewhere on the battlefield. I guess this is kind of where the floating unit cards does help things, but I didn't want to take away from the cinematics of this battle. I was really happy with how this battle turned out. Very, very cool, very fun to play, and I hope it is fun to watch. There we go, we got the Great Britain soldiers now engaged in a firefight against the French lines. However, it kind of looks like the British are taking the worst end of the deal there. You can see that they are active, and they've taken quite a few casualties. Thankfully, my units all are returning from routing, so I'm setting them up to once again challenge the French line. But it is just utter disaster up here on this hilltop. You can see I'm quickly charging my units of Janissaries up onto the hill. And yes, we do have the British here as well, who have taken out the artillery piece, which is excellent to see. So that is finally neutralized, and we've got slowly, we've got the French being pushed from the hilltop. And it looks like he is trying to save one of his cannons here. Oh, a couple of hits there. You can see some units flying back. Yeah, landing just in front of the French lines, those artillery shots from Great Britain. You can actually see it way in the distance there. Way in the distance. But very, very good. And what do we got going on over here? Yeah, most of my units, I believe they had routed, but some of them have returned, so I will be putting them back into the fray against the French. But the French have really held on the left-hand side very well. You can see that they're almost curving to hit the United Kingdom's right flank with moderate effect, I should say. I wanted to say effectivity, but that is not a word. I don't know why I was thinking that that would be a word. However, we do have the Janissaries moving in behind the hill, as I said, and we've got the French that are slowly trying to form up into a, not really a Noob box, because he was 2v1, so it's understandable if he does go into a square formation. But thankfully, the soldiers of the skins here, the 27-foot Inniskin, they have not allowed the French to retreat, and this is an absolutely epic struggle here. You can see the British and the French flags. You can see the Ottoman flags there. Very, very cool. And it looks like the French are forced from the hilltop. Very, very awesome battle. I love the smoke, too. I found that in Vanilla Napoleon, the smoke really didn't last that long, but it should with the muskets. This many muskets firing, it would just be all out fog, I would assume, you know, 20 or 30 minutes into a battle like this. There we go, some more of the Great British soldiers charging into the French. And the general is starting to be put under a little bit of pressure. We do have some units kind of that have broken and have returned. This unit here with 139 has broken, but I believe it does return. However, finally my units are starting to form up to fire into the backs of the defending French. We've got some more units from Great Britain moving up the hilltops again. A lot of them are very tired, that's why they are moving so slowly. But we are slowly starting to push through here as well, and you can see that the French are utterly surrounded at this point. More men running, what a surprise. Yeah, the Ottomans don't have the best morale, we'll say. But here we go, this was a really good charge from me as well, so Tattoos and Welding was really having to focus on that other flank, so I managed to get in a good charge with my Lancers. You can see that these guys are really under pressure. You did manage to form up with this unit and is going to do a bit of damage to my Lancer Cavalry, but not before I broke one of his units here, and I'm hoping that we are going to break this second unit, but I'm not confident of that. I love when they form up square too, and you can see like the French flag. As long as the flag is being held high and the soldiers can see it, their morale will hold. Very, very cool. But yeah, a lot of good units holding this side. You can see that our flank has been utterly annihilated. Most of my units that have routing are not returning to the battle. And we do have some depleted units here. We've got the 2nd Foot Queen's Royal Kirk Lands and the 30th Foot 1st Somerset Yellow Banded Robbers over here, kind of keeping all of these units at bay. And I'm slowly collapsing in on the units here. You can see again, I love that I could see all 3 flags here in this battle. So awesome. Ottoman flag represented Great Britain and France. And you can see up there that the Janissaries and the British troops have conquered the hill at a great cost. now I've got some units in behind enemy lines as well, so it's really not looking good for the French. Really not looking good at all. But again, I've run my units, which is a huge mistake. I found that out, that running your units for even just like 10 or 20 seconds will cause them to be exhausted. So all of my units on this flank are exhausted at the moment, so they're barely moving forwards. However, we do have, again, this left flank just curling in a little bit further. So now he's pretty much down to just his left flank, and he's doing really well at kind of attritioning us down as we move forwards. Line after line of French getting excellent volleys into the Great Britain lines. Yeah, as I zoom in here, you can see how much damage they are actually taking point blank. French firing right into this unit here, and yeah, they have routed. So well done there to the French. That's absolutely incredible. Well, we do have my general there, so Mustafa Pasha, unfortunately, he did throw his life away up on the hilltop. I think he actually ran into spikes, if I'm not mistaken, which was really unfortunate. He just clipped these spikes there as I was trying to get him up over the hilltop. But these things happen in war. These things happen in war. Here's my elite Janissaries, so you can see them there, all formed up and ready to go. Got more Janissary units moving in as well. Really, really cool battle. Let's see what's going on over here. I think that some of the French units actually returned from routing. So yeah, I had to quickly form up my units here. Yeah, this unit returned from routing, which was a little bit of a problem for us. Also, you can see some good hits there from the Great Britain artillery, which is way over here there on the hilltop. They are still finding their mark some of the time, which is good to see. Again, some more units breaking for the French, and I think it's only a matter of time. Again, Tattoos and Welding pulling back his flank once again, leaving this unit, I guess, to fend for itself against the ranks of infantry from the United Kingdom, and I think that is too much for them, and they break. So let's zoom out, take a look at the battle. So heavy losses here for this hilltop. You can see that a lot of men have lost their lives just trying to claim that hill. But once the hill was claimed, then you start to see the bodies of the French beginning to pile up here. This slow grind to the flank here. And we do have the general charging it as well, and actually he's going to be charging in against some of my exhausted units here. Unfortunately, I think this unit didn't have square formation either, so that is not good for me. Yeah, they routed instantly, and a lot of these units actually over here don't have square formation. So I was very worried about this. He seemed to be doing a lot of damage with his general. See, yeah, these guys are steady, but not for long. Thankfully, the Janissaries, my elite Janissaries, have formed up, and these guys as well. We're getting some good volleys into the backs of that general's bodyguard. But there we go, they have routed as well. Now the general just turns around and is going to be hitting this unit. And they are wavering as well, so this will be a third unit that they have broken. Possibly this one as well. I think it's a different unit. No, it's the same one. So just like that, the French general has broken 3 units on this flank, and now he's going after a 4th? Oh, he's going after the United Kingdom. Now that's a little bit more ballsy. I probably wouldn't have done that. The United Kingdom infantry are very solid infantry, so I don't think the general is going to be able to survive against that. However, he's doing very well over here. Let's go ahead and just end zoom in. I know it's a little bit laggy, but just to see them battling it out in the fog. I love the cinematics of this mod. Very cool. And if I didn't mention it before, guys, I actually have 3 more replays for Napoleonic Total War 3. So if you really enjoyed this, be sure to let me know, and I will have some more for you in the following weeks. I do obviously have some good 12-12 battles I want to get out to you as well, though. Good volley there by the British soldiers. The French are pretty much fighting back-to-back at this point, you can see. This is all that remains of the French. They've got a couple units here. This unit has finally routed. I believe the general is still in melee, though. He is wavering, but now I've sent in my elite Janissary units, and he is not going to be able to beat them. See some of the cannons here as well captured, so the French cannons were neutralized, and I believe that is the French general gone. Excellent to see. And so he is leaving the battlefield, pretty much abandoning his men to their fates, and 3 units of French remain. We have the Les Sans-Cours, the Forez, and the Le Royal Avernier. I hope that is close to how you pronounce it. Nice volleys, boys. Nice volleys. Let's see what they are taking on. A lot of British soldiers over there. A lot of British soldiers. And they have broken as well. And does that leave one unit? It leaves one unit, guys. This is the final unit here. And they are wavering. Everyone else has left the battlefield, and there they go as well. And I believe that is all of the French that remain. There are a couple of units that have probably returned from routing. You can see there are 2 that have decided to stop running and turn and face the British soldiers that are over here just behind this small hill, but they will be routing very shortly as well. I don't know. Yeah, the general did not return. Although he was not killed, so maybe he will be able to escape the battlefield alive. You can see them starting to take casualties. It's kind of sad, really. I mean, there's no point, gentlemen. Just pack your bags and sail back to France. And this campaign was quite interesting, too, because Napoleon didn't really count on numbers. He knew his the quality of his troops. And the French did have about 40,000 to 50,000 men for their North Africa campaign. And the British really only had about, like, 30,000, so the French outnumbered the British. However, some sources say anywhere between 150 and 250,000 Ottomans were on the side of Great Britain. So I don't know if Napoleon just didn't account for that, or if he thought that, you know, with their ill training, that the French would be able to overcome it. I mean, they definitely were able to overcome obstacles like that in the past, dealing with the Russians and the Prussians. Being heavily outnumbered wasn't something that was a stranger to Napoleon. But there we go. You can see 3,500 deployed for me, only 1,900 there. Tattoos and Welding deploying 2,658. I lost a decent amount of my forces, but killed 860. 771 for Noob Nath were killed. A lot of my Ottomans were killed by the French that day. Let's just take a look at the kills here. So yeah, for one of these units, 122, which is pretty solid. My gunner cab actually getting 83, and the lancers 57. So actually, top 5 units, 3 of my cavalry. So not too bad at all. Not too bad at all. But that is it for this battle, guys. I hope you have enjoyed seeing a little bit more color to the channel with some Napoleonic Total War 3 replays. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one.